Can Kal-El ever hope to overcome the unstoppable onslaught of Ra's al Ghul and his kryptonite sword? Will Kansas fall to the might of the Lazarus Corporation, or will a true superhero take flight? Well, let's hop into the pages of Absolute Superman issue number 14 and find out together, shall we? So then, picking up directly from where the last issue left off, poor Kal-El was getting his shit absolutely rocked in a 1v1 duel with Ra's. It probably didn't help that our hero was already stretching himself incredibly thin trying to protect Smallville and everyone who was living there not sleeping for multiple days. And that's even before we factor on in the whole kryptonite sword thing. Poor Kal-El ends up taking such a beating he ends up wandering just a little too close to that metaphorical light as he is ever so briefly reunited with his parents, his dog, and his dead homeworld. The really interesting bit of characterization here is that Kal-El isn't upset, he is actually at peace. He wants nothing more than to be reunited with everything he's lost. Unfortunately, all of that afterlife stuff is gonna have to wait, as the world of the living still very much concerns him. As we cut back to the present, he is quite literally getting impaled with Ra's kryptonite sword. The Demon CEO's plan is still the same as it's ever been: try and force Kal-El to the dark side, force him into accepting his help and becoming his son. Hell, as we learn in this issue, Ra's had upwards of 90 sons, all of whom failed, and were thusly put down by their own father. You can understand then why Ra's is so absolutely singularly motivated into doing whatever it takes to make Kal-El accept this forceful adoption, even if that means destroying everything that anchors him to this world, including telling Brainiac to use the newly corrupted Soul system to murder Jimmy and Lois. Thankfully though, Soul once again proves that he really is the MVP of AIs in this situation. Brainiac may have infected all of his subsystems, but hey, that's a two-way street. When push comes to shove and there's no other options left, Soul decides to delete himself, if it means freeing Superman's only human friends. Their importance, of course, really ended up getting over a couple issues back, and here we see this idea brought to its full fruition. Soul sacrifices himself, but before he ends up melting away forever, he is sure to once again reiterate how much he loves Kal-El and sees him as his brother. This of course means going into the final battle, poor Kal is more alone than ever before. He's burned up most of his red dust that makes up his cape, and he can no longer look to Soul to get him out of any tight jams he might find himself in, and indeed this is the tightest jam of them all. With few options left and spurred on by the loss of the last piece of his own homeworld, Superman decides to hit Ra's with both barrels. The resulting heat vision blast creates a massive mushroom cloud, but of course it's not nearly enough to put Ra's down. This is a guy, after all, who has lived for thousands of years by bathing in noxious chemicals. A little heat isn't gonna do him in. Now, as tense as the battle is between hero and villain, things really end up heating up when it comes to the Peacemakers getting into a major standoff with Lana Lang and the other residents of Smallville. They all have their weapons drawn and they're all very ready to blow each other away. Meaning, even if Superman is able to beat the odds and win in this scenario, there's still a very good chance lots of people are going to die today. However, it is right here that the story ends up taking its most interesting turn. You see, one of the Peacemakers in a battle met gets way too close to Superman for Ra's liking. He freaks out and starts attacking one of his own guys. He would have easily killed him too were it not for the fact that Kal-El actually stepped on up to defend this guy. A man who not a minute ago was quite literally trying to kill him. Ra's is disgusted by this turn, saying that perhaps no one this week could ever possibly be his son. A beleaguered Superman asks if he is to stand down, would Ra's be willing to spare the innocent lives of those living in Smallville. Ever the cruel psychopath though, Ra's says that if Superman did agree to kneel, did agree to take on the name Kal-El al Ghul, then he would not deliver his rage upon Smallville. He would have his new son do it instead to truly prove his loyalty. And because peace is now 100% officially not an option, Kal-El ends up doing maybe the smartest thing he's done all series long. You know that symbol on his chest? The symbol of miners and working folk back attack on Krypton, a symbol that was supposed to mean shame? Well, Kyle says that his parents always felt it carried a different meaning. It meant that they were the people of steel, and now in this moment when Superman needs it most, he rips the symbol off and turns it into another red dust weapon before loudly and proudly declaring that Kal-El of Krypton died a long time ago. And that while he is still not totally certain who he's meant to be in this world, he knows damn well that he is not meant to be Raish's son before lashing out against him with one massive and critically effective attack. And if that wasn't enough to start turning the tide of battle in the good guy's favor, then what happens next certainly is. You see that Peacemaker pilot who Superman spared just a moment ago? Well, it turns out he's from a small town not that much different than Smallville, and it's only right here, right now, is he starting to think that Lazarus and Raish are full of crap. Why are they spending so much time, money, and risking their own lives hurting people who aren't that different from them? Hey, how about that? The villains finally discover some class consciousness. And now that Raish doesn't have his armed goons at his back, suddenly he's a lot less scary. We get treated to a hell of a shot as Superman raises his red dust sword aloft, as the rest of the panels are actually made up of dialogue from previous issues. I actually like this a lot. You don't see this all the time in comic books. But it ends up painting one hell of an epic and climactic picture. Also, part of me is wondering, you think Batman out there somewhere his ears are burning because another hero turned the symbol on their chest into a big weapon? Kal-El gets another brief flash into the beyond where he sees his parents. Once again, he wants to go with them, feeling that his work is done, only for Jor-El and Lara to tell him very bluntly that the Redlands and Krypton are no longer his home, that he has found his home and found his people even if he didn't think so. Kal-El defeats Raish, and while the evil demon CEO demands to be killed, naturally Kal-El refuses, instead deciding to take him all the way back to Pakistan to face justice at the hands of the aggrieved people, whatever that justice might end up being. Naturally, the citizenry are overwhelmed and overjoyed to see this great and powerful hero not forget them, though when they ask him his name, Kal-El doesn't give them an answer. It's after that we flash forward sometime later. Smallville is slowly but surely being rebuilt. The media caught wind of what Lois and Jimmy were trying to reveal, and it looks like things might actually be changing for the better around here. All the news reports talk about the mysterious Superman who made all the difference, but Kal himself has been trying to lay low until it felt right to finally visit the one person he wants to see more than anyone, Martha Kent. Their last meeting, you'll remember, didn't exactly go so great as Martha's dementia had progressed, and sadly, by the time Kal actually makes it to the old folks' home, she has unfortunately passed away. The nurse on duty, though, says that Martha stayed very busy during the siege of Smallville. Her mind had briefly returned to her, and she talked often about her son. She even left him something behind, something that she knitted from old scraps. She never got a chance to finish it, but the message is loud and clear. You see, Martha Kent knitted for Kal-El his own super suit, only this one is the traditional blue of the main universe, not the darker blacks and grays of the absolute universe. And if you're not absolutely crying yet, then the note attached to the costume will absolutely push you over the edge. I know it did for me. The note reads, "From Martha and Jonathan, for our angel, our lost son, Clark Kent." Meaning that as this issue and this arc comes to a close, Kal-El finally has 100% a definitive answer to the questions that have been dogging him since all of this began. Who am I and where do I belong? And so that was Absolute Superman issue number 14, everybody, and I would be lying if I said I didn't think Jason Aaron delivered maybe the strongest issue in this series so far, which makes it maybe one of the strongest issues in this new Absolute line. Obviously, that last page reveal is maybe one of the finest emotional gut punches I've read all year, but it's everything leading up to that that really sold that moment and made it particularly special. After all, the whole point of this Absolute Superman series is showing us a colder, more alien, more distant take on Superman who slowly but surely ends up adopting the world and its people all the same, even though doing so later in life made it all much harder for him. It's seeing a Superman who really genuinely thinks about giving up several times, only for him to rally and fight back twice as hard, and to see him ultimately be rewarded for his goodness and his selflessness with a real name, with a tether to the world that he now seeks to protect, as well as friends and a second chance to make sure that the horrible fate that befell Krypton will not befall Earth as well. Overall, I think I'd feel comfortable giving this one a very well-deserved 10 out of 10. This is an issue that in my mind does everything right and ends up maybe being one of the best comics of the year I've read right at the tail end of 2025. Hey there everyone, it's your pal Cape Ghul again, and if you're seeing my face right now, that means you watched to the end of the video, and I'll always be grateful for that. Retention helps in this crazy YouTube game, and so does becoming a patron. If you head on down to the description, you can find a link to my Patreon page. Recently just redid all the tiers, a lot of cool stuff offering up there, exclusive commentaries, exclusive polls, behind the scenes concept art for Capes and Quest, that's the brand new D&D show I've started soon. Never been a better time to become a patron. You can become a patron for as little as $1 a month and help the channel grow and, help me continue to deliver content like what you just saw. So I want to thank you all, and I will see you again next time. Bye-bye.